Moving on to lipids. So we know that lipids are found in all kinds of tasty but not so good for you foods. Another word for lipid is fat. So we can find fats in meat, we can find it in vegetable oil and chocolate and almonds. So this picture here shows you lots of places that you could find fats and lipids. Some are healthier than others, and we'll kind of get into that here in a second. But these all have fats in them. Most things do have fats in them. Fat is good for you to a certain extent. So the composition of fats is just carbon and hydrogen. It's just CH. Fats are not soluble in water, so that's why when you pour vegetable oil and water together when you're making brownies, they don't mix unless you add eggs, because eggs emulsifies them. So lipids are not soluble in water. Lipids are formed by glycerol and a fatty acid tail, which I'll show you here in a second. But a couple other things about the composition of lipids. Lipids also make up steroids, and so if you're asked kind of, most of the time if you're trying to identify in a list if something's a lipid, so carbohydrates, we use the ending OSE. Lipids, it usually has the word lipid or fat in it, except for steroids. And steroids are natural in your body. It's not just something you take so you can build lots of muscle, but steroids are chemical messengers in your body, like your hormones, the things that make you crazy once a month, ladies. Those are all steroids too. It's just a category of molecules. And so lipids are commonly fats, oils, and waxes. 3 types of lipids are saturated, unsaturated, and polyunsaturated. So saturated lipids have all of their carbon atoms are joined by a single bond. So when their carbon atoms are holding hands, it's just one bond rather than 2 bonds. Saturated fats are usually found in animal fats, so they're not very good for you. So you try to limit the amount of saturated fat that you take in. Unsaturated fats have at least one carbon-to-carbon bond that is a double bond. These are going to be liquid at room temperature. So contrary to the saturated fat, which would be solid at room temperature, unsaturated fats are liquid. So think about when you fry bacon. When you fry bacon and you leave, and you after you've eaten the deliciousness, and you leave the grease sitting in the pan on the counter, that grease solidifies. That's because it's a saturated fat. So it's solid at room temperature. Unsaturated fats would be things like your vegetable oil that have at least one double bond, and that would be a liquid at room temperature. And then polyunsaturated means that there's more than one double bond in the whole structure of the lipid. It's found in cooking oils such as corn oil, sesame oil, canola oil, and peanut oil. So you want to kind of stick to the unsaturated fats because they're easier for your body to process and break down. So this is a picture of the composition of a lipid. So we said just a little bit ago that it's a glycerol with a fatty acid tail. So this particular example, all of the carbon-to-carbon bonds are single bonds. So this is a saturated lipid. It does have a double bond here with this oxygen, so that key word of carbon to carbon means that this is a saturated lipid. And so glycerol, there are 3 glycerols with 3 fatty acid tails. That's always the structure of a lipid. Lipids, their primary function is to store energy. So think about it. When you're storing a lot of energy, you get fat, right? You eat too much, so your body doesn't want to waste that stuff, so it starts to pack it on. Ladies, it's around the hips. Guys, it's around the belly. Because lipids are your energy storage molecules. Your body doesn't tap into those until it's exhausted the carbohydrates that are available in the body, which is why if you're trying to lose weight, you have to be burning more calories than you're consuming, so that your body will tap into the lipids and get rid of them and start to burn them and use them. Some lipids are important parts of biological membranes and waterproof coverings. So think about plants that are like succulents that live in the desert. They may have a lipid coating on the outside of their leaves that prevent them from losing water because it's a waterproof covering. Keeps the water in.